Hey everyone, stat details of premium tanks that are part of Winterfest event are now out, and in this video we'll be taking a look at their stats and armor as well as comparing them to similar tanks. The tanks that are part of this event are ELC EVEN SS.12 T54D for Era 2, KP07P for Tier 10, and Object 283 for Tier 9. These tanks can be purchased differently. KP07P is only available through Mystic War Chest drop, and you will also receive its Yeti hero skin when you get the tank. Object 283 is available in Winterfest Storefront, Winterfest Mega Bundle, and a possible Winterfest War Chest drop. T54D is available in Winterfest Mega Bundle and as a possible Winterfest War Chest drop. And the last ELC EVEN SS.12 is available through Winterfest Storefront and in Winterfest Mega Bundle. So let's get started with the stat details. KPZ is a heavy M tank, and we'll be comparing it with T110E5 as both play similarly. However, KPZ can perform better at distance as compared to E5 and also is more mobile. So let's compare the stats. KPZ has 2200 HP, which is 200 less than E5. Power to weight, KPZ has slightly better power to weight of 16.84 compared to E5's 16.28. However, we don't have terrain resistance value yet, so I'm not sure how that will come into play. For speed, KPZ is the winner. It goes up to 50 km per hour as opposed to E5's 37. Even the reverse is faster than E5 by 3 kilometers, as KPZ has 15 kilometers. For hull transfer speed, KPZ is 34 degrees, 2 degrees less than E5's, and the turret traverse speed, KPZ has 36 degrees, which is 4 degrees better than the E5. Gun depression, similar to E5 of 8 degrees, better gun elevation by 5 degrees, which is 20 degrees for KPZ. Now coming on to the penetration values, KPZ has a 270 standard penetration, however, that is an APCR round compared to E5's 258, which is an AP round. Since AP has better normalization, I think it's similar penetration, but because it's APCR, it's faster. It does have 320 heat, which is 20 lower than E5's. However, it does have high penetration HE, so it has 110 or hash as compared to 60 that E5 carries, so it's easier to pen waffles, especially now after the armor buff, and also it's just much more effective when you have 100 plus HE pen. The damage is 10 less than E5, 410 compared to 420, and 5 less HE damage, which is 525 as opposed to 530. However, I think the HE is just better because of the pen. The aim time is where the main difference is. We have 1.7 seconds of aim time for KPZ as opposed to 2 seconds with E5, and accuracy of 0.33 for KPZ, which is worse than E5 by 0.02, but I don't think it matters. The combination of aim time and accuracy just makes it easier to snap in KPZ. Rate of fire 6.32 and a reload of 9.5 seconds. The base DBM comes down to 2591, which is 300 less than E5's base DPM of 2898. Ammo capacity of 45 rounds, and that's where the APCR comes into play. The shell velocity of 1334 as opposed to 1067 that E5 has on AP rounds. However, the heat and HE are slower for KPZ with 960, whereas E5 has heat and HE that can go up to 1067. View range also 10 meters better than E5. It's 410. And looking at the stats, as I said earlier, KPZ is more mobile, more, you can peek quickly, aim quickly, shoot the tank and get back in cover quickly. However, it comes at a cost of DPM, but 2591 is still respectable enough. You can make it work. It's almost 2600, and just looking at the stat, it looks like the tank will be fun to play. Looking at the armor, it does seem like E5 has stronger frontal armor, but KPZ, as you notice, does not have a big hatch like E5, And also there's a shovel in the front. So whenever you're pushing in KPZ, it's safe to assume you'll bounce more shots just because of the shovel, as it is the case with the aviary whenever it's charging you. The lower plate seems weaker for KPZ as compared to E5, but looks more angled. The sides are also stronger for KPZ compared to E5, but E5's hull is kind of inwards. So it looks like decent armor, except the roof, which is similar to E5's, and it doesn't have a hatch. So the armor doesn't seem like, it looks like pros and cons when comparing to E5. You should be able to play hull down better because of not having a huge hatch. But at all times, try to keep your lower plate covered, as upper plate should be safe. However, there is that upper hull that's light blue. That might get overmatched, so you have to be careful of that. It seems similar to 430U, where if they can look down at your upper plate, they might overmatch it. Other than that, the armor seems decent enough for its playstyle. The next tank on our list is Object 283, and we'll be comparing its stat with Object 432, as both of them are rear-mounted tanks with limited gun depression. So taking a quick look at the stat, it seems like Object 430 is a clear winner when it comes to stats, as everything is better except the gun depression, where Object 283 has slightly better gun depression. But let's start with the individual stats now. For hit points, 432 has 1700 as opposed to 1600 for Object 283. Object 283 has better power to weight of 17.89 compared to 15.91, so points to Object 283. However, the top speed is 50 km for Object 283 compared to 55 of 432. And also the reverse speed is slightly lower. It is 18 km, which is less than 20 km of 432. Hull traverse 46 degrees, again 2 degrees less than 432, as well as turret traverse of 34 degrees, which is 6 degrees less compared to 432. Gun depression and elevation is where 283 has an advantage, and also power to weight, of course. It has 6 degrees of gun depression compared to 4 degrees that 432 has, and a gun elevation of 20 degrees, which is 4 more than what 430 has. Penetration is less, or at least the standard penetration, but it does have more damage. For Object 283, the penetration for AP is 237 and premium is 330. For Object 430, the standard penetration, it is APCR, makes it better as a sniper, and it does have a 264 penetration, and then the same penetration for heat, 330. Damage for Object 283 is 360 on standard and premium and 480 on heat. And 430 has less damage, 320 alpha for standard and premium and 420 for heat. Similar aim time and accuracy for both tanks, which is 2.3 seconds of aim time and 0.36 of accuracy. Damage per minute is approximately 200 less for Object 283. It has a DPM of 2182 compared to 2400 for Object 432. Both of them has 50 rounds. And coming on to shell speed, since Object 283 has AP, the shell speed is 895, and 432's APCR has 1535. The heat shell velocity is same, 900 meters. View range is also identical of 380 meters. And then signal range, which really doesn't matter, 430 has 30 meters better signal range. I did make a typo here, by the way, that it says AP for 430, but it is APCR. Looking at the armor, on the left we have the new tank Object 283, and on the right 432. One thing you would notice is Object 283 only has one hatch, and it's smaller compared to 432's two hatches, which are significantly taller. And the frontal armor of 283 seems better. The frontal armor and turret seems slightly weaker. And 432, even though its frontal armor seems weaker than 283, never has an issue bouncing shot just because of the angle. It is very difficult to pen the upper hull of 432 as well. Both seems to have similar side armor. Object 283 seems to have better upper side armor towards the front at least. But for medium tanks, both of these tanks have to have similar armor, and it looks like they can hold. It will come down to what the camo is for 283, as 432 has very decent camo. So for me, it seems like I would prefer 432 just because even though it has slower power to weight or less power to weight, it is faster and it has a better DPM and premium APCR. But we'll have to check the camo. And for those who prefer slightly better alpha, Object 283 could be the choice, but you have to keep in mind that they are both rear mounted. And it is always tricky to play a rear mounted tank compared to a front mounted. And that's where mobility and camo plays a crucial role. The next tank on the list is T54D, and I'll be comparing it to Pharaoh's Fury, as both have similar playstyle, similar gun depression, and similar alpha, as well as both are top tier Era 2 medium tanks. So if we're looking at the silver bonus, Pharaoh's Fury has 65% as opposed to 60% of T54D. T54D has 15% commander bonus, 5% more than Pharaoh's Fury, and both tanks have same tank XP bonus of 10%. Now coming to in-game stats, the hit points for T54D is 2750, 50 less than Pharaoh's Fury. Power to weight is 14.5 for T54, and I assume it'll have better armor. That's why it's slower. And Pharaoh's Fury is 2125. The speed limit is also 50.6 for T54D, almost 20 less than Pharaoh's Fury. And same goes for reverse speed. Its reverse speed is 21 compared to 27 that Pharaoh's Fury has. However, it does have better hull traverse speed of 48 degrees per second compared to Pharaoh's Furies of 44, and similar turret traverse of 32 degrees per second compared to 34 degrees of Pharaoh's Fury. So the rotation is not really an issue here. They're similar, however, it is a lot slower and sluggish, and that I assume is because of the armor that Type 54 has. Both tanks have same gun depression of 5 degrees, so similar playstyle. But T54 obviously would provide better opportunity when you brawl because of the better armor. A gun elevation of 20 degrees for T54D and 18 degrees for Pharaoh's Fury. Penetration is also a significant advantage to Pharaoh's Fury, as T54 has 370 standard pen and 449 premium APCR, as well as 230 HESH, but Pharaoh's Fury has 426 standard pen, 460 or 494 premium pen, and then 250 HESH pen. Same damage, 464 standard and 574 HE for both tanks. Aim time, Type 54 has a slightly better aim time of 1.9 seconds, 0.2 better than Pharaoh's Fury, and accuracy of 0.32, which is same as Pharaoh's Fury as well. The damage per minute, T54 again has an advantage of 150 DPM. It has 3367 damage per minute. And comparing the shell velocities, similar shell velocity, not much difference, 1455, which is the same for both for standard APF SDS, I call it APCR. And premium is slightly slower. It is still 1455 for T54D and 1494 for Pharaoh's Fury. Type 54 or T54D does have better view range, 520 meters compared to 485. So it does have a better aim time, better DPM, but it is sluggish. Whereas Fury is faster and have better shell penetration. It's not easy to look at Cold War armor models as they have so many layers and you can't really see all of the layers in an image. But just looking at it in these images, it feels like T54 has an additional layer of spaced armor in the front, or additional layer of armor, and also on the turret. So it is safe to say this tank is better at brawling just because looking at its armor model, and that's why it was slower. That extra weight or the reduced in speed was because of the extra armor it has. Whereas Pharaoh's Fury is more of a sniper, at least early on, still has enough armor, but it seems like T54D clearly has better armor of the two tanks. The next on the list is ELC EVEN, and I'll be comparing it to Rocket Hand Kampfpanzer 2. But keep in mind, Rakuten is a bottom tier Era 2 tank, but I expect ELC EVEN to be a mid tier, so all the stats will be relatively better for ELC EVEN. But just keep that in mind that ELC is a mid tier, not a bottom tier. but I couldn't find any other tank which has the same playstyle as ELC EVEN that's in the game and is also a mid-tier. So this seems like a most fair comparison. ELC has the hit points of 2300, which is 200 higher than Rakuten. Power to weight of 2301, again 2 better than Rakuten. Same speed limit, forward 70 kilometers per hour. Slow reverse speed of 28 kilometers per hour as opposed to Rakuten's 70. Ultra reverse and reverse is also better of 48 degrees and 50 degrees respectively. It does have less gun depression of 6 degrees compared to 15 degrees that Rakuten gets, as well as less elevation of 13 degrees compared to 18.5. It does have better penetration with 690, better alpha damage of 1300, or slightly better, I would say. And same shots per clip, 2 degrees, or 2 for each, 12-second interclip for both tanks. And damage per minute, ELC again has a 3471 DPM compared to 3158 of Rakuten, 300 better. The ATGM shell velocity is also better. It is 370 for ELC compared to 329 of Rakuten. Both tanks have same minimum arming distance of 100 meters. View range is better for ELC for 520. We don't know the camo, but I expect camo to be similar to Rakuten. And both tanks in terms of sneaky should be similar. However, ELC is smaller and will be difficult to hit. But both these tanks, they don't really have any armor. As you can see, none of these tanks really have any armor. You might get lucky here and there, but don't rely on it. Their strength is concealment. And in current meta, camo is better than actual armor in most cases, at least early on, because they can't hit you if they can't see you. However, when it comes to rolling, it might not be that favorable. Also, because ELC has 6 degrees of gun depression, might be able to shoot the top part or the turret. However, Rakuten didn't have any turret, so it could be held down theoretically. But the trees does make it difficult as they'll always be in your way and sometimes you end up over peaking. So that's it for this video. Do let me know in comments what you think about these 4 tanks and if you're planning to buy any of them. Again, I don't like how the KPZ can only be bought through tank chests. Not a fan of that. I always like when there's a second option, which is a fixed gold value. We don't have to rely on RNG to get a tank. But that's it for this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.